Right, so I'm out here with Rocky now. We're in the workshop. Obviously the two cars are dismantled between racing, just doing a bit of servicing and stuff like that. But I really wanted to chat to you more about the history of Pac and how you got into racing and rotaries, and what was your first car, and when did you discover that you loved rotaries?
Basically, I used to race two-stroke bikes, and one of the guys that we were with said, yeah, look, there's a car with an engine that doesn't have valves and a cam and whatever. It's got a power band like your two-stroke bike. And I said, yeah, okay. And we went for a ride in my mate. I think he had a Bridgeport RX4 at the time, and I went for a drive in it. And the next day I went and bought one. I just thought, what the hell? Like, this thing had a power band. It revved like the bike. It was real lumpy down low. It was real dirty before it got on the port and whatever. And so, yeah, the next day I went and bought an engine, and the rest is history, as they say.
When you first pulled it apart and stuff like that, and were working out what was going on, what was going through your head? You're like trying to work out what to do with it, because I mean, obviously these were new and...
Sure, I mean, we'd done a lot of repairs on our bike. Of course, two-stroke bikes with reeds and, you know, there's no valves or cams or whatever. So when we pulled it apart, I was like, oh yeah. Straight away we get to looking on what's the best port, and what can we do with this and do with that, and how do we make more power and whatever, and then peripheral ports and exhaust and Webers and all that stuff started. And we were self-taught. We didn't really know anybody else that had them, or the other shop. So pulled one apart, said, okay, 1, 2, 3, got a Mazda workshop manual, did some work, put it together, and went out, tuned it on the road somewhere, and yeah, Oran Park.
And I guess, I mean, that's the thing, like, people don't really realise that aside from Mazda doing their own racing programs and stuff like that, there's only a handful of people, and you guys being two of them, that were actually messing around with rotaries trying to work out what to do.
Back in them days, circuit racing and Mazda rotaries were pretty synonymous with each other. You had Moffat and Brad Jones and all that. They're really old school names. The stuff that we were doing, like, there wasn't really anybody doing that, like drag racing. We thought that would be the cheaper path and the easier path to take rather than circuit racing, because we thought there was a bit involved with suspension, brakes, setup, tyres, etc., etc. Yeah, we went off on a tangent, and we really didn't have very many people to guide you along the way. And that in the early days, but I suppose when we started our business, I think the only guys that we were having a bit of a ding-dong with would have probably been Anthony from Maztec, and that was it. I think between us two guys and our business and the performance gains and that's probably where it all stemmed from. So.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at these cars here, these are running low sixes and all the crazy stuff these days. But I mean, what was the very first time you went down the quarter mile? Was it successful? How fast did you go?
Oh, the first time we went down was like a mid-11. I got a photo of the car picking up the front left wheel, and we thought that was the best thing. Me
personally, coming from working with Fast Fours and stuff like that, I've been lucky enough to see you guys run a heap of times, but one of my fondest memories is when you're at Eastern Creek, going uphill on the unprepared track, 788 and the 13B. That was the first 13B in the 7th?
Yeah, that was in the Pac-Man car, I remember. It was at Supernats, I think it was, at one of Ahmed's events. Of course, in Sydney, we were without a racetrack for a very long time, so everybody knows that. And to get onto that track, you have to be registered and all that. So to be able to run that 7-second pass in that car at that racetrack was something special, you know. So yeah. We won the event that day as well. I mean, against blown Tiranas, like, and all those V8 guys and stuff that. So for us to have that fastest EP that day was pretty special, because we weren't the norm. We weren't part of the in thing. We were always like we were at the kids' table at the party. We were never allowed to be with the adults. So to have that car make that much power, go so fast, and put it on all these V8s and 6s and stuff like that, pretty good feeling back then.
If I was to say, give me like a couple of the highlights from back in the day, some achievements you guys have had, what would you say?
That 6-second pass at Jamboree, that was pretty special. We were all gunning for that 6-second pass to do it. We had our family, friends there, and with a very basic setup to do that was pretty special. I mean, we had run so many 7.0s in testing and in racing, whatever, and then to get that. We won like a national meeting running in Comp Eliminator, and Comp Eliminator was full of these big blown V8 dinosaurs. And I remember we would just come up to the starting line, and these guys didn't know what we were doing, and I'd come up and press some buttons on the e-boost and say, all right, George, we're gonna go 650 now. And like, we'd be messing with the guys next to us, and they didn't know what to expect. And when their cars were running, we couldn't even hear our car run. So to go and win an event, and ultimately in that competition eliminator, in a class we were never supposed to win or even racing, was pretty special. For us, probably the good moments have been when we've had to race outside of our class. Like, so I don't mind racing compact cars or whatever, but it's a real buzz We were running a couple of years ago at the, I think, Gulf Western, and we won the event in a class that we never should have won. But we were consistent. George is sharp on the tree, and we won the money. We won the event. So all those events where you're not really supposed to win, you're like outside, dark horse, like, and then you get up on those days. They're pretty special.
And I guess, for me, and I'm guessing you probably agree with me here, building cars and being around the car scene's not just about cars for me. It's about meeting people, going places, the experiences and stuff like that. And you've got some amazing customers that you've had over the years and do some cool stuff in their cars, but going places and stuff like that. And George started to talk about Puerto Rico as an experience. And I mean, for you, what was that like?
A dream come true. I'd many times I'd spoken with George and the rest of the team and Karen, my wife, and whatever about heading over to the US. I was there a few years ago, of course. I met with Ozzy Moyer, the guy owns Orlando Speed World, Ozzy and his wife Maria. So something which we spoke about for the last 5-6 years. We did the whole deal in about 45 minutes, said, yep, we'll be here for these 2 events, it's going to cost this much, we're going to take blah, 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 blah. Done. Like, we made the announcement at PRI, and next thing you know, we were at Orlando racing in front of a packed crowd. The fans, the spectators there, they're like so invested in the sport. They're fanatical. They've got that good racing pedigree over there. To have a grandstand full of people and it's pouring down rain and not one person leaves the grandstand just shows you how committed they are, because they knew as soon as it dried up, our racing is going to be on. And that first event, we ran all the way to the finals. We ran the finals at like 3 o'clock in the morning. We came runner-up against one of the locals there. So to be able to mix it with those guys on the same day at the same racetrack just shows where we were in the scheme of things. Whilst in Orlando, then we did a deal with the guy from Puerto Rico, Arturo, who runs the event. Next thing you know, we're in Puerto Rico racing on the island, and that first burnout that George did through the tunnel, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the racetrack at Salinas, but the tunnel is probably 50, 60 metres behind the grandstand. So when you do like a normal burnout, you might just stop at the beginning of the grandstand if you did a burnout past the Christmas tree. And those guys there don't really do big burnouts, but when George did his first burnout to half track, you couldn't hear the engine over the crowd, over the fans clapping and roaring and screaming, whatever. And that was just, I think Puerto Rico is probably the birthplace of compact racing. Those guys have been doing it a long time, and to race there was just a dream come true.
You guys have always been big supporters of Aussie products as well, but now you're making your own product, having to do it out of necessity, but now you're actually manufacturing for other people.
Not just us, but everybody around the world broke the 20B fat centre plate. Couldn't buy it anymore. We used to buy it for $400 or $500. And all of a sudden it became $4,000 US because we had to get Mazda Speed to make it, and we were waiting months and months on end. So I was like, hang on a sec, we've got to do something, otherwise we can't race this 3-rotor anymore. So first plate, 20B centre plate, was made in 2006. We had it approved by Andra because we were running comp eliminator, so we had to make sure that whatever part we were using was available to all our competitors as well. And it was a direct replacement, so it bolted straight in, the same ports. So the first plate was made out of necessity. Once we got that working, then said, hang on a sec, we made the centre plate, let's make the front, let's make the rear, and so on and so forth. So they say, necessity is the mother of all, innovation. And that was it. We needed to. That wasn't available. So yeah, we were the first people to make the plates. So anything we haven't been able to get, we've had to start making.
Yeah, well, I guess on that note, give us a quick look and we'll see what you've been up to.
Yeah. So we got 3 Haas machines here. They're making plates. They work in 5 days a week, about 18 hours a day. They can work unattended, so we do a morning run, then an afternoon run. We've got our own machines, CNC machines. We've got our own balancer. We've got our own equipment here, so that we can keep an eye on production, make sure we're on time, quality control. We're forecasting, so we know when the stuff's going to be here. We're not having to rely on the outside surfaces. These are plates, all being prepped, made, ready. Some of these are for Australia, some of these are for the US market. And surprisingly, we've got so many of these plates in street cars now. Like, originally this part was never designed for a street car. It was supposed to be for a race car, but I mean, after we had broken a record once or won a championship or done something, and George in the middle of the night says, mate, I'm going to put this engine in my street car. And of course we said, look, you're crazy, these won't run, they got no water jackets, 15 minutes the thing will boil and fail. And he said, I don't care, I'm putting it in there. And of course the next day we got up, and mate, George was true to his word. We did it, and we ran it for 15 minutes, and then for an hour, and then for 5 hours, and Now we've got over 100 of these engines running around on the street. That's let alone our race car stuff. The coating on them is very durable. If anybody who's had rotary engines knows that you get the wear across where the corner seal on that runs, so you don't get this. This is like 80 Rockwell. It's really, really hard.
I mean, billet stuff's pretty common now these days, and you know, there's a lot of R&D in the actual metallurgy as well, yeah.
And I take credit for that. We were the first people to do that. Before any of the 6-cylinder guys or the 4-cylinder guys, we had these billet stuff. And again, they didn't have to because they could get a cast block and they put sleeves in it. They could get away with it, whereas we couldn't. So we had to do this, and of course, still check by hand. It's not like a big, huge production line. We're not about making lots and lots of stuff. We just make good stuff at the right time, for the right price, and just making sure we keep this rotary engine, the rotary dream alive, you know, because 10, 15 years ago, maybe Tony Wedlock said to me, you need to go find yourself another engine because this is going to be dead. And we're still operating stronger than ever, and the rotary engine lives on. And
you know, like you say 10, 15 years ago, that sort of leads into your son Peter. Like, he's what, 21 now?
Yeah, he's 21, turned 21 the other day.
He's out in the workshop, enthusiastic, running around, doing everything. He's out there tuning with you and stuff like that. I mean, he's grown up around the cars. I mean, how does it feel for you knowing that he loves everything that you love and is excited about what's to come as well?
Well, that feels good. I mean, like, we've got the new generation coming through, so there's my son Peter.
That's awesome. Well, much appreciated. We might go and see if Peter's kicking around and have a chat with him about getting in the cars and growing up around the shop. But appreciate it. Looks like you've got plenty of stuff to do, and thanks for the tour.
No problem. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Peter.
Yes.
Rocky Jr.
How you doing?
Now, we've just been chatting to your dad about racing and all the history and everything like that. I mean, obviously, your entire life you've been around this.
Yep.
And now you're driving. This is obviously Jason X car, but
Yes.
you got your own car driving. And I mean, what do you love about being at Pac Performance and around the Rotaries and stuff like that? I mean, you're doing everything now.
Yeah, I've been around the Rotary scene for 21 years now, so all my life. I just love the cars, the environment, the sound. I just love being in the cars, working along with my dad and my uncles and with my family, and obviously with Sadek, Jay and Sam. I've been friends with them for a long time, so it's just a big family environment. You know, I have fun, have lots of friends at the track, so it's just so enjoyable.
Yeah, what he thought the first time you went down the track, and he said he was totally comfortable with you. I mean, obviously it's pretty wild going down the track for the first time in a big power car, but what were your thoughts? What was going through your head the first time you went down the track?
Look, obviously I was pretty nervous racing because I've seen it all being done, accidents and top of the top and the lowest of the lows in drag racing. So it was just my time, you know, to get in there and experience it. So I was pretty calm, I was nervous. Obviously I knew what I had to do, but it's just slowly, baby, it's slow steps, and just slowly I got the hang of it and I just became comfortable in the car.
And I guess as far as racing goes, what are your goals? Do you want to be that guy that runs the 5?
You know, it would be nice. As long as someone from our stable runs that first 5-second pass, it's happy. Whether I run it, my dad runs it, my Uncle George runs it, or one of our customers, we're all on the same team. We're all gunning for the same thing. So as long as someone from the stable runs a 5, I'll be over the moon, definitely.
Yeah, for people out there that, you know, want to get into rotaries because they've never done it before, what would you say to them if they were thinking about, you know, going down this path?
Look, all the talk about rotaries not being reliable or not being affordable or always braking is all wrong. You know, once you do it properly, you enjoy the cars, you have fun, and it's a feeling that I cannot explain. You have to get in a car, you have to experience the cars, the quality of the cars, and the car will do the speaking for itself.
Oh, no worries, man. Thanks for that.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, hopefully see you out of the track pretty soon.
That's the plan, definitely.
Wicked.
Done.
So there you have it. Awesome day here at Pac Performance. It's great seeing all the cool stuff they're doing now, plus talking about the history. So if you want to find out more about Pac Performance, we'll put their details in the comments below. Thanks for watching.